Hello everyone, it is Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Thank you for joining me in my little corner of the internet where I talk all things planners, fountain pens, and fountain pen inks. Today I'm going to be swatching the second half or part 2 of my Soe Soe haul. So I've got 6 inks plus a mystery ink to swatch here. If you haven't seen part 1 of this haul, well, there it is, but also it was last week's video. Soe Soe are a company in Australia, and they have a lot of inks in sample form that I haven't been able to find in Canada or in the US. And people asked me in my last video as well what the tariff or custom situation was like. Because my order was below the threshold, I was not charged any Canadian customs. And for those who don't know, I am in Canada, so I don't really know what gets charged in terms of tariffs for the United States. All right, so let's go ahead and swatch. I've got my 52 GSM Tomoe River paper here in my Hobonichi A5 notebook. I'll be swatching with my Browse ornament nib. This is in the size 3mm. And then I'll also be swatching with my stainless steel Kakimori nib. And this is on a River City Pen Co. nib holder. Let's get started. The first ink I have here is Caramel Almond Waffles. Okay, I have to admit, now that I'm filming this, this is not the first time that I have filmed this video. This is actually the second time that I'm trying to film this because the original video that I had filmed, well, the original page that I had done all the swatches, I got ink everywhere. So I had done maybe 3 or 4 swatches, and then suddenly I got ink all over that page. So I decided to film it again. And I don't mind. I'd rather have like a good representation of what the ink actually looks like on the page here, but you don't get to see my initial reactions anymore, but that's okay because I still want to talk about these inks because they're lovely. This one is a lovely pinky brown, kind of reminds me of Sailor Kitsune Biori, which is one of my favorite inks. So this one is Caramel Almond Waffle, and I love the chromo shading that's happening in here. It's got brown. I feel like there's some hints of gray and pink in there too. Really interesting. And I just realized I forgot to do my figure 8s, but that's okay. We'll leave that as is. So we have Kitty Inkpot Caramel Almond Waffle. The next ink we have is Half Spring Break. Now, one of the things that I've actually really enjoyed about these inks from Kitty Inkpot is the naming convention for these inks, because the names don't seem to be representative of what the inks actually look like. So I don't know how this dusty pink signifies half spring break. But that's kind of like, I feel like that's kind of like ice cream flavor sometimes, where does the ice cream flavor really match the name? But I love the way this one looks. This is really pretty. And I'm going to share, I guess, a tidbit about me as well. My birthday is always during spring break here in Canada. Well, for my kids, and like for when I was in elementary, junior high, and high school, not during university, but during my formative years, my birthday was always during spring break. And I thought it was, I don't know, to always have my birthday during vacation meant it was so much harder to invite people over for birthday parties. Anyway, that's just me, but it's a really, really pretty pink, almost actually quite warm, leaning a little more red than pink, but very beautiful anyway. So that is Half Spring Break. The next ink we have is Fluffy Wool Ball. Now, I keep saying this about the names of the inks from Soe Soe, but I just find them so creative. It's kind of like, for me anyway, when you taste wine, for example, and you always try and say like, there's notes of this and notes of this. And after a while, you're kind of like, I have run out of adjectives for how to describe the taste of wine. Oh gosh, this is really pretty. It's really light. grayish mauve purple. Oh, there goes Lucy barking again because I think my husband is home now. But I really like the color of this one because of how light it is. You don't know whether it's actually going to be legible when you write with it. So I'm looking forward to testing these in my 15 inks 30 days come December. But it looks kind of like, oh, what is this called again? Fluffy wool ball. Kind of like a more muted version of Yozakura, Sailor Shikiori Yozakura, fluffy wool ball. But again, the chromo shading in these inks is fantastic. And the shading as well, really beautiful. Like you can see what's happening here. It'll just look so interesting once it's dried. So that is Kitty Inkpot Fluffy Wool Ball. The next ink we have here is Fireflies in Midsummer Forest. I feel like there's a theme, and if I had really studied all of the different names of the inks for Soe Soe, let me just make sure that that's in there. If I had studied them, I think there's some inks that do have that midsummer name as part of it, and I wonder if they're part of a series. If anyone knows, please let me know down in the comments below. But oh, look at that green. It does look like it's not as saturated, that it looks quite light, and you gotta wonder whether this is gonna be legible in a pen, especially in the fines and extra fine nibs that I use. But so far so good. Like I love the grayish green of that. I think it's a beautiful shade of green. If you'll notice, or if you've come to know my taste in inks now over these how many years, I do like the more muted grayish tones of certain colors. Fireflies in Midsummer Forest. Summer, I'm sure I spelled that wrong, forest. But I like the more muted tones of inks, kind of like when I'm putting stickers in my planner. I like the more, you know, muted tones. So these feel really, you know, part of my style. Really pretty ink, and I can't wait to see all of these when they're dry. But I like the grayish green tone so far, kind of like a lighter version of Jacques Herbin's Vert de Gris. So that is Fireflies in Midsummer Forest. The next ink I have is, oh, hold on, Moon Jellyfish Travel Journal. I don't know how these are named or what what color is, you know, what color you think of when you think of travel journal. And I got to be careful because this is one of the inks that leaked everywhere for me. But it's this gorgeous blue. And I did get a lot of ink in the reservoirs of this ornament nib. Somebody asked me actually how I find writing with this, and I don't use the ornament nib for writing. When I received the ornament nib at Bachori's workshop at the San Francisco Pen Show, he basically said, oop, that you got to think of it like drawing rather than writing. Because I don't think, no, I definitely would not use this for day-to-day writing, but I feel like if you think of it like drawing, it makes the process of it easier. Moon Travel Journal. And the way that you're holding your brows ornament nib is different the way that you would, different the way than you would hold a pen, for example. Because with the ornament nib, you're actually holding it like this, so that it's basically at a 90-degree angle to you, and rather than holding it like this. I was taught to hold it like this, and basically you're just moving your wrists to get the calligraphy with this nib. And I actually really like that. And I found that with this angle, it is quite smooth for me, and I'm able to get a lot of ink on the page. As you can see here, it really brings out the different shades or the chromo shading in this. There's pinks and purples in there, so beautiful. So that is Moon Jellyfish Travel Journal. The next ink is Starry Sky and Midsummer Night. So again, the word midsummer and the name is in here. It makes me go back to, did I have one that said midsummer in the last one? No, it didn't. So I only have the 2 inks here that have the word midsummer in the name. But it does make me wonder if they were part of a certain collection. Look at that purpley gray. Really lovely. Oh, I really like the palette of the inks that I've chosen here. It does look a little light though, so it makes you wonder if it's going to be any good in a pen. I hope it is. But again, like the pens that I own are all fines and extra fines, so we'll see if this turns into an ink that I actually enjoy. But that's also why I ended up getting, oh, there goes Lucy again, these in 2 mil samples rather than the 5 mil samples, because you can choose either. I feel like 2 mils is the perfect enough amount for me to be able to catalog the ink, to fill a pen for a month, and to do some swatching. Whereas I think 5 mils is almost too much, whereas 2 mils is just the right amount. And I think it's just, it's great to have those options. And then it's actually quite easy to be able to fill from this vial as well. I think the only ones that I can't fill from in here are probably like the bigger pens, like the Momento Zero Grande 2.0, but otherwise the rest of them I can fit in here and fill pretty easily. Otherwise, I do recommend an ink miser, because an ink miser, you can fill any ink amount from that. So that is Starry Sky and Midsummer Night, a really light, kind of grayish purple, but so pretty. The last ink is a mystery ink that was given by Soe Soe. And I had to think about them, like, where did I order from? I only ordered 12 inks, but then this was included as well. And it's definitely nice to get a surprise. Look at that. That is stunning. It's a lovely ink. Kind of reminds me of the Sailor Manyo Nagi that I've just used recently. I really like that shade of teal or turquoise. But also, again, it's not like an in-your-face ink. It's more of a muted. Now, the thing with mystery inks, though, is that I don't know what the name is. And unfortunately, I cannot tell you. I kind of wish that I knew what the name of this was, but I don't. But it is definitely nice to get a surprise ink. What do you think this one is called? Let me know. So that is Kitty Inkpot, the mystery ink. So there are all the inks from my, well, part 2 of my Soe Soe haul. Part 1 is there, and this is a part 2. I really like Moon Jellyfish Travel Journal, but I also really like that Fireflies in Midsummer Forest. I think that one's going to shade beautifully. I actually, you know what, I like them all. I really do like them all, and I can't wait to put these all into pens. Lucy is now whining at the door to let me let her out. Hold on. You choose the most opportune times, don't you? So just doing a little review here of the inks now that the swatches on the Rhodia paper have dried. So someone did ask in my previous video to show the swatches once they're dried, and I apologize for not including that in my previous video. But look at the way these turned out. They're fascinating, but I also love how much ink is pooling in each one and how the chromo shading is showing in all of those. Like, I think Fluffy Wool Ball and Caramel Almond Waffle are probably my favorite. But then I also love Starry Sky and Midsummer Night and Moon Jellyfish Travel Journal. They're all Absolutely stunning. That is it for me. Which one is your favorite out of the ones that I have swatched today? Let me know down below. So again, the Soe Soe customer service and shipping was fantastic. Everything came so well packaged, not a single leak in any of the inks that I purchased. And again, coming to Canada, there were no customs charges because it was below the threshold. So no extra charges. The shipping was going to be a little high, obviously, just because you're coming all the way from Australia. But I think it was worth it for what I got because I haven't been able to find Kitty Inkpot really anywhere in Canada in this type of sample size. And I mean, you could try and buy them on AliExpress, but you're getting full bottles and they can get really expensive. Okay, so that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Otherwise, don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe. Thanks again for watching and have yourselves a great day.